My past will outlast me. Ask me if I agree with my choices now. I'd say no. I'd ask if that's me, 'cause I don't recognize myself anymore. No, sir. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna rebel, stepping up to the plate, give them hell, feeling great, show and tell, devastate. I've taken my fair share of beatings and I've retreated and bleeded, but my kids were dying for to give her something to believe in. You're gonna trip, you're gonna fall, you're gonna land face down in the dirt. But when you're done, you'll no longer crawl. You'll be invincible from the hurt.
Welcome, everybody, to episode number 7 of the Round Table Show. On today's show, we're going to be reviewing episode 1081 of The Typical Skeptic, where Rob had on Tony Rathman, and he was talking about his EVP system that he's developed called Statacom. It was a really interesting show for anybody that's had any interest in the afterlife and the paranormal. It sounds like they're really on to some next level stuff. And I don't think I could have picked a better panel for this week, because my first panelist is all the way from New Zealand, Stone Hobbit, who is a lifetime experiencer. If you want to go ahead and say hi for a minute and tell everybody a quick 5 about yourself.
Hi, I'm Stone Hobbit, and I am from Aotearoa, which is New Zealand. And I was born into having experiences. I basically class myself at this point in time as a walk-in and coming into a vessel that was not designed for myself, but genetically manipulated for another. And so, and then the family bloodlines led me down a path of, let's just call it trauma-based programming. And when I got into my adulthood, I was starting to wake up to the programs that had been used upon me. And when I went into, I would say I was in my 30s and 40s, when I really woke up to the actual programs that had been used, played, the whole hybrid programs, so many different areas of it. The SSP, I didn't at the time know the languages that were being used to describe, or the labels that were being used to describe what I had experienced. I knew that through my childhood and adulthood, I was what they called a freak of nature. I was the black sheep of the family. I had the abilities, but we weren't allowed to talk about them. They went against the religions that we were raised in. Having these abilities, we weren't allowed to practice these abilities in my own Māori culture. I'm part Māori, part Viking. There's so many other ancestries connected to it. And throughout the time, through all of the stages, I went through a stage of religion where what I was encountering were grey ghosts. I still call them grey ghosts, which turned out to be little grey beings. Mists that turned into, spiritual forms. And now I see them as just energy, just different forms of energy. Orbs have been around me ever since I can remember seeing the first photo with a dot in it. I still get them. Anybody can take a photo of me outside of this place and they'll find a dot in it. I have what I call an orb friendly, which is a dimensional being. I've had the shadow being encounters where I have discovered that through my night terrors, it's just a form of accessing different dimensions. And some of these dimensions are what we on this side call policed. On that side, well, we show up differently and they want to know who we are, just as we have paranormal detectives going out there trying to investigate paranormal activities, trying to communicate with those that have passed on. Well, when we go into these different dimensions, we have also the detectives, the police force on that side. And I have been privileged, I call it a privilege at this point, to be able to go into a dimension, be chased, and when I came back and woke up to the fact, I was able to see who was chasing me step through into our dimension and see them as a shadow figure. So that changed a whole level of dimension. And I got to see, okay, well, I've seen these shadow beings sitting in daylight. I was sitting with a friend of mine. We're having a glass of wine. Front door was open, full on lunchtime, daylight, sun shining. And when they walked past us, there was like several of them that walked past us. They also cast a shadow on the glass door as they went out the front door. Now, it's not about them knowing the direction of the pathway that they follow. It's just about us actually recognizing that there's a pathway to begin with. There's so many levels to this. I mean, I go outside. I started out 20 years ago looking up at the sky, seeing that there was a format, that there was actually a map, a roadway, and then being able to see a regular visitor who was watching me. We have crews out there watching us 24/7. This is just my personal experiences that I come from. There are so many levels. Every single thing that you do. I mean, I had to class myself. The only way that I could stay sane enough, and there's still people out there who say I wouldn't be sane, but but the only way for me to stay sane was to turn around and say, well, I know that I'm an experiment. I'm a multidimensional experiment. I am a multidimensional worker. I work in all these different areas. And I know that during the different changes of frequency, there have been those that have hijacked my energy to go into those dimensions. Now the conduit is closing. Now that's a key. And as soon as I got that key, I was aware that when we become aware of the multidimensional aspects of what we are, what we're doing, what our abilities are, it ceases for those to be able to access us into these other dimensions.
That's
Well,
that's
I would have
something.
to check there. There's one thing that keeps you from being hijacked, and that's protecting and shielding yourself.
Oh, yeah, but you can't do that unless you are aware that there is shit out there that's going to hijack you in the first place.
Yeah.
Well, if you set the intentions, right, Dawn?
I agree that. And by the way, this is my other panelist. I knew this was going to be awesome because you two are just going to gel. Maya from SOS QHT. This is an aspect of my life that Maya has actually recently helped me explore. Was like when I started having my awakening in September of last year, I didn't know most of this shit even existed. Right. And that's why I just gap out and listen to you guys when you talk, because like Maya thinks like I'm there helping her with the show when we do our DJ thing on the weekends. No, I get to sit there and listen to some of the most fascinating shit people could have ever imagined. And it's my job to track these people down and talk to them. And it's like, this is the greatest thing ever because now I get to find the people that I already found fascinating, and I get to actually ask them the questions, right?
Yeah.
Like, because I actually have a reason to talk to them now. And
You're on the
Maya,
other side. You're on the other side of the fence now. You're in
exactly.
VIP.
You're literally you and Rob are the two bases of where I even got the idea to do this, and it's been one of the best decisions of my life. Like, but
Yes.
this actually gels with you because this is something we've been looking at for the show on the weekend, is to get involved with paranormal investigation, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted you to kind of touch on your interest in that because I know Stone Hobbit has actually already done some. So this is a good spot for you to ask the questions you've been itching to ask, because this is somebody that's actually investigated some stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
wonderful. Yes, I have started investigating when I do my hypnosis sessions. We have taken it to just the next level. I don't know if Dawn told you, but we are the new Star Trek, Dan, basically. We're the Cosmic Crusaders, and we travel the universe, and we do all kinds of stuff. We did our first search and rescue mission. And one of the things that we always get told is that we have to shield and protect ourselves constantly.
Yeah.
We had a session where Spinja got attacked, and we went into action right away. And it shielding and protecting is one of the first things, because like I tell people, your chakras are like elevators to different dimensions, and they just open and shut,
Yeah.
But anyways, I can go on a tangent.
I agree with that. I agree with that. Each chakra is, the best way for anybody to see that we are multidimensionals. If you can see a rainbow and those colors, whatever color is like the most prominent for you, that steps out the loudest to you, that's where you are focusing your energy at that particular time. Okay, because all our chakras are aligned with that. That's just the earth's way of showing you that we are multidimensional. You are working in those areas. If you wear green, you're going to align yourself with that green frequency. It's a density. Density equals a frequency. Frequency equals a mass. When you're in that mass, you're gonna be interacting with those inhabitants of that mass frequency. They say the earth is blue, but I don't believe we are blue. We've changed color. I watched the sky back at least 15, 20 years ago. It changed color. The blue of our sky changed color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I say something to that?
Yeah, jump in, darling.
So I've been wearing black forever. I don't even know how long. And it was the beginning of my like real awakening spiritual journey, when I was just like trying to just find where I was. And I had asked, I don't know which angel it was I asked, but I asked about the colors. And I asked, why is it that I wear black? I tried it when I wear white. Like, my kids have a running joke that if I wear white, watch out, I'm going to be fierce, and it's just not going to be good. But when I wear black, they're like, okay, everything's good, we're calm. And I don't know, I was like, why is it that when I wear all white, the energy is different from when I wear black? And they said, well, it's kind of like a trick almost too. White attracts, so you're bringing in all these energies, and if you're not shielding and protecting yourself, then you're like a lighthouse. And so you're like, open. But black is actually a strong protective color. Think of like onyx, shungite, right? So I wear black as a protection as well. I feel safe in black. I've been wearing black for years now. And they also, when I was a priestess in ancient Egypt, we wore black. So I kind of like that. I'm like, okay, tapping into my roots.
That's all right. I was a little boy, and I was named Tia, and I lived in a place called Tiamat, and we did a regular ritual of when the sun came up between the mountains. I'm not going to name the names, but I know them, and they would be in this altar, and they would have all the gold. And when the sun hit the gold, I was an anointment boy, and I would go around giving the oil to anoint everybody that was standing in this row. There was a pathway that had like shells that were white, and everybody wore white on this day, and they were oiled so their skin would illuminate. When the sun rose, hit the gold, hit the path, hit their white clothing, they would illuminate. All right. And we were taken out on one of these days. So When it comes to the coloration, I can't wear white. If I wear white, I can guarantee you I am going to do some job
Yeah.
that's going to dirty it up.
Me
But
Yeah.
too.
I was born on the west side frequency, which means I have spent all my life wearing black. Black is my predominant. I'm wearing black.
What?
Black,
I got a
black,
black rose. I got a
okay.
black tattoo rose.
Yep, yep. Black everywhere. And it's black is also a protection color. You know, if you think about it, you turn on a light bulb or you light a flame or whatever you do, the moth is going to be attracted to it. And
Yeah.
one of the things that I learned about the paranormal is if you go into any situation and you are that light energy, they're going to be attracted to you. They're going to communicate with you. They want to communicate with you because they've been in that space, that density where there's nothing. And they're like, what's going on? What's going
Yeah.
on? Where am I? Oh, look, there's a light. Let's go to the light because we've
Yeah.
been programmed to go to the light. Go to the
Yeah.
light and it'll take you forth. You know, so you step into this encounter, they come to you, they communicate with you. And if you're not knowing what you're doing, they're going to hijack you.
Yeah.
In the early days before I knew what I was doing, I would go to cemeteries and I would see people. You know, I would see dead people.
Yeah. I don't do
and
cemeteries.
they
I
would
was told to stay away from cemeteries and hospitals because the spirits are just roaming.
oh, hospitals was the scary place for me. That was the scary place for me. But then spending the
Yes.
amount of time that I did going and looking after others there and the encounters that I had there, I had to escape. I basically, my last encounter with the hospital was if I didn't get out now, didn't matter how sick I was, and I had acute pneumonia, I knew I wasn't going to leave. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And I managed to get out, drive my vehicle home, and pass out for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
Stone, you
Yeah.
mentioned there about like how everything exists around us in different frequencies. They kind of touched on that too with the whole interdimensional existence. And they were saying that like the body, like our perceptions or our senses are actually the veil. And like if we could see everything that was going on, well, if normal people could see everything that was going on around them, they'd go fucking nuts, right? And I just wanted to get both of your take on that, on what you guys think about everything that exists around us and how much our body holds us, not holds us back, but filters it, I guess.
Okay. Look, I don't know how long we've got, but I'll do my best to make it as short as possible. When you realize, I mean, everything is coded. When you know your skin is an organ, all right? What does an organ do? It takes in frequency. It vibrates. It vibrates. So what you do to enhance all of your organs, you get all your organs like your heart, your liver, your kidney, your spleen, everything in an organic harmonic. And when that does what it's meant to do and they communicate with each other, this is for another show, but because I do the probiotics, I do everything like that. I don't eat meats. I'm now plant-based. I communicate with my foods. I fast 2 days a week. I dry fast. 1 day dry fasting is equal to 3 days water fasting, which is you need 3 days water fasting to grow your stem cells. You don't need to go out there and buy it and harvest it from somebody else because you don't know what you're getting. You've got your own mechanisms that work inside yourself. When you tap into you, the density that is you, then you go, okay, well, where do I want to take my harmonics? What wellness do I want? the medical industry only function because you are not aware of who you are, your harmonics, what you're putting into your system, the density that it puts into your system. So when you turn around and go, okay, I started becoming fully aware of my connection with the spiritual realm or multidimensional realms when I was doing the paranormal investigations, when I stopped washing my hair with shampoo, washing my skin with soap, stopped using perfumes, stopped disguising myself, right? Taking away the layers and saying, well, this is what you're getting. This is me. This is the true identity. So with my true identity and staying in your best version of who you are to communicate with the best version of what's showing itself, because it's not going to show itself if it doesn't match your frequency. You know, a lot of people go into these investigations and they say, well, oh, Joe Blow over there had all these experiences and stuff, but I didn't feel shit. I didn't get nothing. That's because you got to get yourself into your right frequency to be able to communicate in these other dimensions. It's not saying that these dimensions aren't around you. It's just saying that there are all of these other dimensions that are really compacting you into a density that you yourself have to eliminate all this rubbish. You know, my main saying is they took the farmer from the land, and when they put him in a building, a concrete building, a slab, they took the knowledge. All right. They took the knowledge of the seasons, of the soil, of the plant, of the animals, of the tree communication. They took the knowledge and they did whatever they did with it. All right. They used it against us. So when you can take yourself out of whatever situations you are in, you take yourself out of it for 5 seconds and look into something different, you're going to get so much awareness that's going to come your way. And it wants to be here with you because it's your natural self. We know so much. We have experienced so much. We don't just come here, we're born and we live a life and then we die. We are our ancestors. And we come back and we come back and we come back. We are here to do a job. We are here, some call us experiments, some call us prisoners. You know, there's so many different levels of it, and that's spell casting, right? When you can see all the programs that are being played, you go, okay, well, this is me talking to you, I am an adventurer. And in my adventure, there are highs and lows, but I'm the captain of my ship. And if I don't like what goes on, I'm going to change it. I don't need to procrastinate any longer because I have my higher self telling me 3 jobs, 1 go, more time management. You know?
Yeah.
If
No.
you want to achieve, you will achieve. If you want to be stuck, you will be stuck. If you want to investigate, it comes down to what do you want? Write it down. That's the spell that you have cast. Okay. In my early days, and Maya will relate to this as a shaman. In our early days, there was no voice. There was song, and song was frequency of healing. The voice was within, and that voice, there was no bullshit. And everybody, you could relate without voice. You could heal with song. And then they came in and they changed us, and the fall of Babylon began. all the 7 languages, the 7 cultures. There's so many levels to this.
You know what I heard?
Yeah, go girl.
I heard Archangel Michael told me that the shamans messed up when they were using the drums. They said there was something about the frequency of the drums that it was a little bit lower than the string vibrations and the air, the flute. And so when they were doing what they were doing, they didn't realize which entities that they were like attaching themselves to. And so by mistake, they ended up using the wrong type of energies. And then you hear all these weird stories later, maybe they go mad or whatever. But that's what I heard. And I was actually born psychic as well. I didn't know this. I have early memories of like 6 months old, clear as day. Yeah. I'm thinking like I am now, but in a little baby's mind, and I can see myself in a third person. I can see myself above myself as a baby. Like right now, I can still remember it, the songs and everything. But I also opened a portal by accident when I was 3 by staring in the mirror too long, brushing my hair, not realizing. And I asked, why did that happen? And they said, I was too curious. Yeah. And so I opened. And so since then, that is the last thing on my list, is to be able to see things. I mean, I jump at my own shadow. I'm like, so I don't know if I'm ready. But anyways, that's me, Dawn.
I'm kind of in between right now because like since my awakening, Maya is privy to a lot of this, but things have kind of blown up in my world. Like everybody in my house has seen orbs physically with seen them with his own physical eye, like light sources passing by and him go, and he's like, what was that? I'm like, I'm pretty sure it was a fairy. And yeah. And like that's all we call them right now. And since my awakening, I've channeled both of my partner's deceased parents. One was her father, who she was actually estranged with when he passed, and I called her a nickname during my moment that I didn't even know existed, and that it was a nickname from her father. And when I hugged her, she's like, that was my father hugging me. And I was like, that was the most effed up thing I think I've ever had happen. Like her mom had popped in and cracked a joke here and there before. And I was like, I don't know where that came from. But her father full on took me over and made me apologize. And I was like, what the hell was that? So like that right there tells me that there's things right beside me. We are just veiled in a way. I don't know if it's our body. I don't know if it's our mind or what fuckery it is, but there's something that stops us. I don't know if it's for our own protection, because that's what Rob's guest was saying, that we just go nuts. But, you know, if you're going to pass through me, at least let me see it coming. Right. Like,
right.
Yeah. I, a terminology of a walk-in came into me like 2 years ago, and it still sits fine with me. You know, you got to allow yourself growth, and what sits with you right today may change further on down the line. And allow yourself that growth factor, allow yourself to grow into that change, because we are not limited. We are not limited. And part of the programming that's put on us is to keep us in stuck states. And it's that's so powerful in so many ways. Stockholm syndrome, mass Stockholm syndrome, mass programming, the political side. Do you vote for this guy? Do you vote for guy? They, Hegelian dialectic, they work for the same boss. They work for the same outcome. If A says that they can say, we can offer this, this, and this, over B that can offer this, this, and this, whoever gets selected are getting selected because they can manipulate that much more and keep you in a stuck state.
Yes.
When you see what the stuck states do to you, we have emotional outputs, and that emotional is a chemical response. We have these chemical reactions. And because we are not just who we are here on Earth, we also have these parasites that come in. I call them parasitical entities because they come in, they have energy, they can put us into situations that create chaos, chaotic states, etc., etc. It's absolutely phenomenal. And when it comes back to the grey beings, the tall white grey beings that visit me, they turn around and say, if the human mind was aware of what was going on, their brains would explode. But I, as a human experiencer, multidimensional, say, you greys need to give us a little bit more credibility, because there is so much more to us. And if you allow us the knowledge that you have, then not all of us are going to have brains that explode, you know? So it's your accountability,
Yeah.
your footprint. How far are you allowing yourself? You know, in the early days when I had interactions with what people called or deemed demonic, oh, you're the witch, you're demonic, you're this and that, and you're like, oh, words I cannot express right now. But you know what I'm thinking. It's like, I'm here as an experiencer, and I don't need to be put into these situations to be an experiencer. You know, it's like, you are accountable for your footprint. How you do to others is going to come back to you at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So
So
the first person you got to start with is who you are.
Yeah.
You know, all the shit that I went through as a kid is not my responsibility, because I was labeled an innocent. I didn't know.
yes.
But when I became aware of it, I could turn around and say, well, what you did was against these principles
Yeah.
of us.
So can I ask you a question?
Fire away, girl.
Did these beings that you talked to, did they tell you that we're not ready to know about them yet? Is that what they're trying to say?
I've had several beings. I got, Jesus, mate, I got all sorts. But I get, there's one group that will keep me in a stuck state, and they'll say, you're not meant to know this stuff right now, so don't know it. And I'm like, well, you know, I can't live that lifestyle because I'm an investigator.
Exactly.
I gotta know. I've
Can I
got to
say
analyze.
something?
Yeah.
Can I say, I've asked about that. I spoke with the Anunnaki that say they're connected to the Tartarians, the blue Tartarians. They're underwater. They're fighting the mermaids, and they told me that um on the flip side of things, right, the government trying to hold us back, all these things that they're doing,
Yeah.
trying to open CERN, by them doing that, it's actually going to backfire, and it's going to open our minds even more. They said
Yeah.
that we're actually using 80% of our minds. They said we're actually using more than we believe. They've lied to you that you're actually using more than, and when this happens, you're getting closer to really fully being completely awake. And I think it has a lot to do with everybody well, they did say the more that you collaborate and you talk to other people, your voice is activating, your frequency, your energy, everything is helping the collective work. So that's why these groups are important. They're important to connect with people because we all hold different pieces of the puzzle. And let me just say this is why I do what I do with the Cosmic Crusaders, and this is why I love Dawn and Spinjai and my team, because they're ready. They're ready, and I put them there. I let them go. They go.
Yeah.
I wish I could be in their seats with them. I am next to them, but like you said, like you want to investigate, that's what we do. You should come join us. I mean, it's fantastical, right, Dawn? I mean, we party
Well,
with
yeah,
aliens.
and
Oh,
and something I wanted to try to figure out too, where you guys stand, and I guess I'll start with Stone. Is you've done a lot of work with EVP.
yeah,
During the show, he had mentioned that he can actually speak to extraterrestrials with the EVP
yeah.
or his Statacom. Do you like? Does that line up with your experiences? Is it just like spirit world, or can you actually get in touch with the extraterrestrials or interdimensionals, or like how does that work? Because
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I know where you're going with. Okay. First of all, I'll address Maya. It's like, yeah, mate, I'm happy to come on board anytime because this is where I work, and I'm only going to share from my personal experiences, and it's I really want to swear here, but I'm not going to.
I've already said F.
It's bloody awesome. It's bloody awesome to find people doing the same work. Okay, it really is. It's hard work. It's hard work from everything that we've gone through. Mine is in the early days. It was about finding, staying in the truth, recognizing that you're staying in the truth from your experiences that you've encountered. Yes, there is a point where it comes to, oh, geez, I went through this and I do. Yeah, but you get past that. You get past that. The physical imprints, there are measurements of impact, okay? But coming into the brain side of it and the heart side of it's like, well, there's more to this, and I want to know the more to this. And then you go, okay, well, there's more to that too. So you become an in-depth investigation, but you do it within yourself. What do you learn about it? Now, I do classes, I do all sorts, and everything is for free because I believe that this knowledge is free. Knowledge is for all of us to grow into the best versions of ourselves because we are reflections of each other, experiences of each other. I have other versions of me when I do remote viewing, when I hop into different dimensions of self and parallel universes, quantum, the whole shebang. It's like, okay, well, I've been given permission by another version of myself to be able to see a little snippet of that over there because I'm in that frequency, because I've done the work, I've asked the questions I want this to happen. I want to know. I can discern between what's right and wrong, what works for me now and what doesn't work for me. And the thing is not to kick yourself if what works for you right now doesn't work for you 10 minutes down the track, because you're staying within that truth frequency to what is true for you right now. Like today I learned da 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 da, and yeah, I'm going to go out there. I'm gung ho about doing all this. But tomorrow I learned this and this and this, and I'm like, oh, it's changed that aspect. It's not
Yeah,
changing you for the worse because you're accepting it. You're accepting the truth within that, okay? And the truth changes. It doesn't have to become a belief system. It can become a routine of growth. Now,
yeah,
on the EVP side of it, yes. In my early days, I've let's just say I have I'm in communication with several of the clairvoyants, clairsentience, yeah, all there's a few of them. I have had premonitions, and then 2 days later, those premonitions have come into focus. In my early days, in my 20s, 18 to 20s, I would have these premonitions of things that were going to happen. I got to a stage where I would dress in white. I would have the hot sugary tea ready to go. Those around me knew that if I called signal, that means call 111. That was our emergency number. I'd grab a torch. I'd be out on the road. I knew shit was going to happen, and
yeah.
I was there where as it unfolded. I got to a stage where I was there before it unfolded, right? And it would happen in slow motion in front of me. And I would be the witness to the whole circumstances. And I got to see not just that, I also got to see the passing or the moving on of the essence of who we are. Like one person who was cut in half from a bike accident said, how's my mate? And, it was his spirit talking to me, because there's no way his physical could have. He was cut in half, his brains were on the road and hanging in my hands, but he still spoke to me. And I was able to relay the message. I realized then on that particular encounter, because I also encountered them before the incident had taken place. The store I was working in, they came in and they communicated with me, but I'd already seen this before it started to unfold. And there were so many connections, and it was like absolute craziness. Planes that have crashed over here in New Zealand, and I knew people who were on board before they even took off from the ground. And it's like, well, why couldn't I have taken that step further? It's like deja vu. When I recognized I was having a deja vu, the force field was so strong that I couldn't break through it to change it. I had to recognize it and let it unfold. It was something that was going to play out. So in the EVPs, I had encounters where I'd been sitting around. I lost a child in my early days, and only he knew the name that I'd been recognized as at that particular stage. And when I happened to be doing an EVP one day, he came through, and he came through on a recording. So I actually managed to recording. I don't have it now. Many years have gone, things get lost through the journey, but there were witnesses to it at that particular time, and he called me the name that I was recognized as that at that particular time. And it was just more confirmation to myself. I really don't care who believes me or who doesn't believe me. It's about what the experiences that you have encountered. As humans, one of our things is to go out there and find commonalities, from the experiences that we encounter. And these EVPs have led me down through some fucking crazy, crazy paths. I was working with some lovely people that are familiar on the internet. And one day, just out of the blue, I said to my friend Lind, I said, look, how about you ask these questions for me? I'm in a total opposite side of the world to you. I don't know what went on in this building, with these spirits, but how about you ask if they know me, if they recognize me? And holy shit, Batman, they turn around and the spirit on the EVP machine said my name, a name that only a few would recognize. And I was like, how the hell's bells would they know that stuff? And then
Okay.
I was doing a coaching course, and at the end of it, I said to my students, look, you want to know what orbs are? Now, I see orbs every day. You were talking about orbs earlier on, Don. Now, when I first started to recognize them, they were like a flash out of the corner of my eye. I went and got my eyes checked because I thought I was going blind or some crazy stuff was going on. No, you still got 20/20. Everything's all good. And then I met a person who was having the same thing. And then later on down the track, these orbs would fly past me, and I see them every day. Now, if I could see them, then that means I could pick up the camera and take a photo. And that's what I did. So if you look at a lot of my photos, you will see that I've captured photos of orbs. Now, these orbs have gone from energy sources to ships with beings coming out of these ships, morphing into other creatures, which people today call the Fae. So there's we're so many different dimensions we are in right now. And your energy plays a role in this. And this is the same as the EVPs.
Yeah.
They can communicate with you no matter what part of the planet you're on.
Yeah.
I was doing an EVP with people in America on the other side of the world to me and a different time zone to me. And these spirits were able to address me and tell me that these people needed to change their positions in the
Here comes
room. Yeah, because of their personal frequencies. A had such and such a frequency, B had such and such a frequency, and they were like this, and nothing was happening. And then through me, I was told to tell them to change their the position of the room. And as soon as they did that, the frequency, the information came in. It was like they created a portal. So it doesn't, the positioning of where you are on this planet, it's not a necessity. It's the positioning of your frequency alignment that opens the portals.
Yeah.
Go.
Before we get too far away from it, you have very graciously offered to allow me to share some of these pictures, and I'm going to put them right here. So there's going to be a break in the segment, and we're going to share your photographic evidence. And you can say what you can say, and or you can shove it up your ass. I believe this woman, and I want to see these damn pictures. So this is my show, and it's my business. Anyways, carrying on from there, when you first experience with the EVP, was it like the typical spirit box, or because he basically ran us through the history of them on the show? And like, have you had any experience with the direct radio voice or just the original spirit box?
Okay, I start off. We're going back 20 years now. Okay, I've always had spirit encounters. I've had ghosts come to me. I've had mists come down the hallway, go into my kitchen. I've run into the room and I've seen them manifest into different beings. I got photos of a ghost spectral coming into me, and I'm looking one direction, and you can see the spirit on the other side, and you can see that I'm a woman. But on this side, this is before I put glasses on. He's got box glasses. He's got a goatee, and he's a guy. You can tell he's a guy, and you can tell I'm a woman. So I've got that one, and the encounter was my partner at the time, a friend of his had passed on, and the image of that person that showed up. And now this whole room was lit up just by candles. There was no electricity. And I had a friend who had one of the first digital cameras, and she just turned and took a photo of me. She lost her rag and stuff, saying, "Oh, you got a ghost." I've taken photos of trees, and I've had spirits step out of the tree, and I've got photos of daytime apparitions in the background, and I've got a figure of a person, some sort of being sitting inside a ship. They're sitting inside of. Anyway, I'll send that to you.
Yeah.
These orbs I've got, you can see that there's an inner layer from where it's opened up. There's an inner layer, and a ship has come out of it. And there's all of this information that nobody wants. The government doesn't want to admit, but they are very aware. And the reason I say that is because as soon as stuff started happening around wherever I go, I get the helicopters.
Yeah.
And you.
I see you. That's not a flight path. That's my house. Why are you over my house again? Why are you still over my house?
You'll see the orbs around the helicopters. So that's undeniable confirmation for me. We watched the Hercules military plane fly over, do test runs, and I used to live near the military air base, and I knew their test runs. So when I'd moved to this particular, let's say, ley line, because there was so much activity, this plane Hercules was flying over, and it was doing practice runs. I knew what practice runs were. And then one particular day, all the energy got myself and my partner at the time to go outside, and it was a clear day. It was daylight. It was clear skies, no clouds. The Hercules flew over, and we watched. There's no way we could have filmed it, okay, at that particular time. This was just not expected. This white orb, like what they're calling the Tic Tacs and stuff, appeared out of nowhere, zigzagged, and went up into this plane. Now, the week before that happened, I get put into positions where I don't know how it happens. It just happens. And I was communicating with this person from the Whenuapai Air Base who was absolutely excited about a VIP that was coming. So he knew something, but he couldn't tell me everything. He thought I was the mother of a teenager who was interested in joining the military. I got VIP passes for my teenage son that didn't exist at the time to go and attend this function. What?
Yeah.
Crazy, like I said to you earlier on, doors open, and if you don't recognize them at the time, you're not going to use them. But if you do recognize them, you're going to go through them, right? You have to accept the possibilities that these doors are going to lead you to something, even if you don't go through them for too long. And all the job positions I've had in my lifetime may have been short enough, long enough for me to gain the information I needed to, including getting slapped on the hand. I've worked as a lab tech in biology, as a phlebotomist. So I was working by taking bloods out of people and analyzing it in a lab. They turned around and told me when I was seeing things that shouldn't exist in the bloodstream that were there, that I had to go and get more credits before I could get the information for what it was I was looking at. Right? These are the jobs. These are what they do to us. They will put the information right in front of us, and it's up to us as investigators if we want to take it. If you want to be a victim, you're not going to see it.
Yeah.
Right?
I absolutely agree with that, because, like, again, if I hate to repeat my own story, but if not for a succession of nightmares, I'd have never met Maya. I'd have never done this. I'd have never been on the radio with her. I'd have never met you. I'd have never met Rob. Like, these are way too many things that are meant to benefit me for it to be coincidental. It has to have some type of thing. Like, you were just talking about the orbs. Maya put my partner under hypnosis, and she met a fairy that is one of her guides. Like, these are the types of things that have come into my reality, and they just cannot be coincidental. Like,
no.
You're exactly right. We're put into places to meet people. Like, I can't even picture my life without my friend Maya in it anymore, because she just exists in my life at such a level. Like, we talk to each other more than I talk to my biological family. And it cannot be that that's a coincidence or a fluke.
Well, can I say Dawn has had some unique experiences on my journey. I've talked to many different people, but his was, when I met him, his was he kind of knew, he kind of had an idea a little bit, like he knew it was time to investigate. These dreams aren't dreams, I don't think, And then I was like, well, I can take you back to your dream through hypnosis. And when he heard that, I think he was like, oh my God. So now whenever I'm always like, what did you dream about? Do you want to go back? He had this dream where he was on the moon, and then he woke up and he was all like, he looked like he went to a chop shop. His body had bruises. He had all
Yeah.
kinds of stuff. And then he found out we went under, and he found out that he was in a battle with a gray.
I was on my way. I had already been to the moon previously because it's the moon that's used to project negative forces, but this is actually in the future and we've gotten control of it, blah, 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 blah. But I was going there to do repair work, and I got broadsided by a gray who drove their ship through mine. I snapped back into consciousness, and my nose had looked like it had been plastic surgery back on. I now have a permanent spot on my nose, and 3 of my toes had a bruise on them like that, the size of a big tomato, and looked like they were broken, except it was painless. Yeah. Right? So.
And he took a nap.
Yeah, I went to sleep for 20 minutes. And
so they told him, well, while you were sleeping, we kind of needed you real quick. And they ran a quick mission. And then we went to a cosmic party on our ship. And Don met up with his lieutenant and was like, yo, that wasn't cool. Why did you have to do me like that? He kind of like snapped at him. I was like, oh, this is serious. Like he hasn't forgotten.
No, even under regret, I was still pissed off.
I come back. I come back when I realized this was a real thing. Back in the day, I was having a encounter. So many encounters. I don't know where to start from. This particular encounter, I woke up with bruises. I woke up with a burn on my arm, and I'm like, I know the night terror, air terror, but I was accessing a different dimension. When you break the spell casting of the labels that we have here on Earth, you realize there's actually a hell of a lot more that's going on. So I remember running into a cave, and there was an old woman who felt very familiar to me. And I realized now where I'm at was another version of myself. So the other version of myself dropped my arm on these hot rocks where the cauldron was burning, where I was laying. And when I woke up, I had a blister on my arm to show me that this was real. I actually had experiences. And then I started to research it. I'm not going to give you names and places because I'm still doing work on it. But I went there and I wanted to locate this particular cave near Stonehenge, and I found it. Okay, I was being, as a woman, as a girl in white, running from the hounds with guys on horseback. This other elderly lady pulled me through a cave which was covered in like gorse and bracken and stuff. I don't even know what bracken was at the time. And when she pulled me in and she gave me this drink, I passed out. And when I passed out, I put my arm on the rocks, and that's when I got the blister. And when I came awake, I wrote everything down, right down to everything I could see in her, her ceramics, which were like glass jars. I just knew by the frequency of smell of what was in each of these ceramic pots. I knew what she had. She was a healer. And I could hear the dogs, I could hear the horses, but they couldn't find me because they wouldn't go near the bracken. There was something to do with the bracken at the time. And it was dead hedgehogs and stuff which put them off the scent. It was amazing. It was amazing. And I know that if I ever went to some of these locations where I've had these experiences, I'm bloody sure I'll find stuff. I really know I'll find stuff.
It's funny that you say about having that in depth of experience. I just love talking about this. Another one of the sessions, Maya had Spinja under, and she had met her fairy Annabelle in that existence, and the experience was so in depth that I was getting visuals while my partner was explaining where she was in Iceland with these purple flowers and this waterfall and a mountain. I'm like, this actually exists.
Yeah.
So no sooner is she out of the regression, I'm like on Google. And about 10 minutes later, I'm like, here? And I showed her a picture and she just went white. She's like, I was really there, wasn't I?
Yeah.
So the fact that we can travel interdimensionally in different states of consciousness brings me to the point that I wanted to get to with Rob's interview was he used materialistic science to explain consciousness and how we are reincarnated, but he had also poo-pooed materialistic science earlier in the show. I don't believe anything about our consciousness can be defined or categorized by like, oh, it's going to be exactly this way of reincarnation. You're going to have this, this, and this existence. Like the next time I die, I might pop off to another freaking galaxy. I don't know. It doesn't mean I'm coming back here, right? Or am I way off my mark there? Because that's one thing that it just kind of confused me with his points there. He's like, no, you can't believe materialistic science. And then he used that to explain the reincarnation cycle.
Yeah. One thing I want to say about the reincarnation cycle is, look, you can't, it's your journey. It's not what somebody else tells you how it's going to be, because that's their experience of their journey. It doesn't have to sit right with you. It doesn't have to be exactly the same as what you're encountering. You know, you are of different frequency. You are of different makeup. There are certain underlying similarities between, you know, human race and different areas, backgrounds, this sort of thing, but you've got to also look into it. There are so many different forms of makeups that's made you who you are today, right?
Yeah.
You know, that person over there may be influenced by A, B, and C parasitical entities, family lines, whatever, telling you that you can only do it this way, or you can't access. When anybody says can't to me, I know that I can. Right? I know that there is another way, because when somebody says can't, that is a limited stuck state. That's somebody else's limited perception. This is not your perception. You know, it's good to be able to hear where somebody else is coming from and say, well, thank you for sharing that information of your journey. But I'm not going to limit myself and stay in those stuck states of your belief system, because I'm looking for growth. I'm looking for something else. But I'm not going to poo-poo you for the experiences that you've encountered. You know, and when I get to where I've got to, I'll share mine with you. And if it doesn't resonate, I'll see you when it does. You know, it's like, in my groups that I hold, it's more like we learn and teach each other how to agree to disagree, because it's a form of growth. We're not all the same. We haven't all come from the same species makeups. You know, I might see A, B, and C different types of species, whereas somebody else will say, oh, that's all shit because I can't see them. But that's all right. You've got your, you know, D, E, and F, and I might not be able to interact with them. But that's the frequencies that are resonating with us at the time. But there may be somebody that comes along and goes, ding, here's the key, and now you both can talk to each other on the same frequency.
Well,
so it's about allowing ourselves the growth, and allowing ourselves to see that we don't need to be stuck in others' limitations. That's huge. It's so huge. You know, I'm so past the point of listening to people turn around and say, well, you don't know shit, because each and every one of us have had experiences. If we're here now sharing whatever encounters we've had, whether you've seen an orb, whether you've heard a noise, whether you've smelt something there's no reason for it, these are all the clears to me are forms of communication in the different dimensions that we access. You know, and it's about encouraging each other to enhance these abilities and these experiences that we've had, instead of saying, oh, you're a witch, you know, I don't want to, you know, and no, if you have angelic, you have angelic, but that's not going to limit me to having, you can turn around and say, I've had demonic. I can turn around and say, well, I've had gargoyles, angels, mists that have turned into different beings. I've had orbs of shots of light that have appeared. It's like, if you take away the aspect of limitation and allow yourself the encounter and know the experience. And when you say that you've had A, B, and C experience, I can guarantee you it's like taking a photo. If I take a photo of one set, any photo, today I'll see A, B, and C in it. Tomorrow I'll see that much more in it. It depends on your state of mind at the time of what your visual concept is.
There's something that's gone on in my personal life since my awakening that I gotta share, and it kind of relates to that. You're talking about how like it's all a succession of this, that, and this and that, and your experiences. There's a gentleman, he's actually an author, and he's well known for writing about the SSP in America. I won't mention him by name, but physiologically in the face, we're almost identical, right? We could pass as near twin brothers and have both had similar SSP related memories come back. He took the different route. I just went, well, that's kind of fucked up. I guess I was. But where he wrote a book about it and went that direction, I decided I wanted to explore everything in the paranormal after I figured that out, because I was like, oh, that's interesting. What else? Right. But it's just fascinating that you bring up how like it's all about your perception, because here's a man who I think is about my age. We look like we could be twin brothers. We had similar psychological experiences in our consciousness at some point, and yet we take completely different paths.
Yeah.
Right. So there's literally an existence of each other. Like, I'm not saying he's my twin or I'm his twin or a clone or whatever label you want to try to be weird and slap on this, but it's just pretty damn coincidental that there's two men about the same age that look so similar that are having the same experience in life. Like,
I want to tell you a little story. Back in the day, we're going back 40 years. No, we're going back 30 years. I met a woman who had the same name, the same birth date, the same job, and was there for the same situation that I was. And it was like, whoa, this is me. She dressed the same. She talked the same. She was here for the same reason. What? And then years later, I went to the library and I was told I couldn't get a book out because I had a fine. I had a late fine. I'm like, what are you talking about? And it came down to another version of me working at the library I once worked at 10 years earlier. Same birth date, same description, everything, same name, working at the same location. I'm like, if you look around, you will see clones, mate, clones. If you look around, you will see, I called them templates at the time before I knew what a clone was. Okay, I called them templates. If you look around, men will get to a certain age and they all look the same. Women get to a certain age, they all look the same. There's certain traits about them that show up more than others do as they're growing through the stages. And it's like, well, I know you. I can tell you what you've gone through because of the traits of your template, right? I've met, you go into different circles, you move into different locations, you'll meet the same templates. They may even have the same names. They may even have the same personalities. So it's like, for me, when that kept happening, it was like, I got to do a change in myself so I don't keep running into the same templates or the same clones, and having the same repeat bloody, it's, you grow from becoming aware of yourself, because in one stage I was what I called splintered selves, and I had to back all the pieces that were taken from me to find out who I was. And when I did, that was just one stage. When
Yeah.
I did, I knew that I'm going to another stage. And this is what happens. You'll meet people like yourself out there. I mean, really like yourself out there doing the same work that you're doing because they're trying to meet that same point. You know?
It's funny. I'm going to share a personal one again, and I'll make it quick because I know we've kind of been going on. But I had a near fatal motorcycle accident when I was 25. And that's why I was telling you before the show, I had to get my knee replaced by the time I was 45. Well, by the time I was 40. But what had happened was I got laid up in the hospital. Both my legs were badly damaged. I lost an eighth of my left calf. My right knee was destroyed. I was messed up. So I'm in hospital and it starts going around town and around the area that I've had an accident. Well, about 2 days after that, my mom starts getting condolences phone calls, like people saying, "Oh my God." Well, she looks into it and phones the newspaper. Another Donald Rogers that was a year older than me had a fatal car accident the same day.
Yeah.
So it was a bad fucking day to be Donald Rogers, let me tell you. Because that dude died and I almost did. Like I've told this story, but like I actually got stopped on my way into the operating room by the officer who had a handful of Polaroids. He's like, "I gotta ask you, did you duck?" And I'm like, "What?" And he flips it over and the front tire of my motorcycle was touching the handlebars. He's like, "There's no way your neck's not broken," which I later found out I actually had an OBE and I can actually replay it and watch myself bounce down the road like a fucking ping pong ball.
Yeah.
But no, it's just weird that you're saying like there's different versions of you because on that particular day, death was out for Donald Rogers.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I've
I
felt
had
that.
death chase me once.
Yep.
oh,
Yep.
I was driving. I was driving, and um, short version, I had worked in Hollywood, and I was dealing with a particular celebrity, we'll just say. And I was like, something told me to run. He went into meditation for an hour, came back, told me my darkest secrets. I was like, how did you do that? I got so freaked out. And he started talking to me, but it wasn't him. It was something else. And it was talking through him. So I took off, got in my car, took off driving. I drove for like 30 minutes, but I felt like death was chasing me. And I was driving on the highway and on the fast lane, and cars would stop on their brakes. And 3 times I had to swerve and avoid. And then so finally I get to my location, and I get to my location, I make a U-turn and I park. And right as I park, I take a deep breath and I relax and I say, "Oh, thank God I made it." And right as I said that, boom, something hit the back of my truck, spun my truck around 360, and then flipped my truck and slid it like 10 feet. And I was inches away from being decapitated from the other parked vehicle because the window was going right into it. And it was a 911 Porsche, and it smashed right into my frame. Its frame was indented in my car, like it was molded. Not one scratch on the Porsche. The guy said he never seen me. And he had made a U-turn right where the sun was coming into his eyes. And yeah, and then when the cops came, the cops were talking to me, asking me what happened. And they were like, "Oh, we got $150,000 warrant for your arrest." And I was like, "Wait, what?" And they said, "Yeah, you missed a court date." They're like, "Damn, what'd you do?" And I was like, "You tell me." And it was a DUI. Long story. I wasn't even drunk. But yes, I had death chase me down too. And it was the craziest circumstances. There was 100 different scenarios surrounding that one scenario that affected all these different aspects of my life. My social life, my business life, like my car was gone, crushed me right down to zero. And I had to stay humble. I looked at the clock, it was 9/11. I was like, I got hit by a 911 on 811 by
Yeah.
and when I got to the place, it was 911. I said, this is bad. This has got to be bad. But yeah, life is crazy. It chases you. I got hit by an Archon drone too. An Archon drone zapped my truck, and I was getting ready to interview with these 2 hypnosis practitioners. They went under to see what it was. They sent the dragons out and to destroy it. And so, yeah, I've had my own experiences. Oh my God, she slipped through a
She
portal.
just had to step out for a moment. But no, like, it's wild, like the amount of things that you've taken me back to remember. And like every time I come out of hypnosis, it's basically what she was talking about, with how all of these dimensions are just a layer away. And I think that's what happens with the hypnosis sessions is we temporarily escape our veils, which that's what this guy was explaining, is like our body is essentially a lot of the veil, because we can't physically perceive this stuff or we'd go fucking cuckoo. But I think that's what a lot of the hypnosis does too, because like it doesn't matter if we're like doing a healing session for Spin or a Cosmic Crusaders thing, you're just beyond the physical. Like, yeah, you're still in your physical body and it's you talking, but you're not exactly here either, because you go into this state of consciousness that allows you to shed the mortal coil for a moment. And like, there's still times when I can hear Annabelle talk or Gabriel speak through me, or, you know, we all heard my voice change on the one recording, and like it's now become identifiable even in my day to day. But it's just that stage of consciousness that we get into just beyond here, right? And I think it's absolutely fascinating, because it's not hypnosis, it's not dream state. It can only be described, and I know you've done this too, Stone, is astral travel and like stepping just outside of the body, right? And I find it great because I'm starting to be able to control my dreams, but I can also, Maya, it was always seems to be game to take me under for a session, because I can get out of here for a second and learn what I need to.
Yeah.
It's the theta brainwave. It's the theta brainwave, and the ones that what the frequency they use is the delta to control. And these people, when you see these mass shootings and stuff like that, that's the delta. They've tapped in delta mind control, and now they have been hijacked.
Hijacking is quite a big thing. It's like, the conduit is closing, and that is, we are becoming aware of our abilities, our, what is going on, who's been coming in, who's been going out, what they're taking from us. And we're saying, no, we're not going to tolerate it anymore. There has, we're putting in protocols, boundaries. I call it kawa. And, we're saying, look, if you want to work with us, this is how it's going to be from now on. And we only want the truth. We only want to know the information. And you can't pull the wool over our eyes, because we're aware. We've lived this life so many times round. What you were saying, Don, about, these accidents and these incidents, I think you were saying as well, Maya, back in the day, I knew how I was going to die. I knew it. I knew what age, I knew what location, I knew what caused it. And then one day out of the blue, I'm in this frequency, and I don't even listen to radio, and the radio was on. And it came across this woman with my name, who was 68 years old, fell over, hit her head on the curb, and she died. And this was like, there was so much information that was my information, and she died. And it was like, how was it that for not even the fact that she had all the similarities, but the radio was on and I heard it. I've had strangers come to my door and ask me questions, and then tick off a board. And when I turn to my partner and say, this weird thing just happened, and they've come to door to see who the person was. There's nobody there. The gate wasn't even open. My guard roosters didn't even go off, you know. I had roosters who were my guard dogs. And it was like, what? You know, I've gone to the graveyard where I used to do my walking, my running around, because I started jogging. And one day we saw this mist like thing happening above this Colosseum. No, you know, I don't think the mausoleum. Sorry, mausoleum. And we thought it was smoke or something. And as we got closer to it, we could see it wasn't actually connected to it. It was a little bit further over. And the only reason we could see it was because there was a forest on the other side of it. And when we recognized it, it stopped. It stopped and turned and was coming towards us. You know, a few minutes down the track, this Asian gent who was short in stature, very petite, appeared. And in the cycle that we were doing to get back to our vehicle, there's no way we could not have seen him. And we passed his presence twice. And the second time round, I was, you know, I felt like I knew who he was, but I knew I didn't. And I'm like, nice to see you. We'll see you again. But he had an umbrella. And there's no way he could have had an accessory in that time frame from not having one. You know, there was just, and so there was like time and time again I've seen, you know, I knew what my death was, and I said, okay, well, I know that I'm not going to buy anything that resembles that fabric or those types of shoes or that coloring, because I don't want that to happen. And I've done it for other people as well. You know, I got a phone call from an acquaintance one day saying, well, I've got to do this and this. And I'm like, well, I had a dream about you the other night. Don't buy this and this, because this is the way it's going to go if you do. His mother had just purchased those as a birthday gift for him, and he turned around and he refused them. And because he refused them, his court case went in his favor. But had he arrived in court wearing what his mother had bought him, it wouldn't have gone in his favor. So there's, you know, we do get gifts. We do get the insight to what is going to happen. It's how we read it, how we listen to the frequency as it comes in. But, you know, with everything else that's going on around us, these are what I call limited stuck states. They put us in this doubt field. You know, it's like, this is what I call the 3D density, is doubt field. We doubt ourselves via programming. You go to school, they tell us if you want to ask a question, you got to put your hand up. But it doesn't mean you're going to get it answered. It doesn't mean you're going to get a nice reaction at the end of the day. You know, you go to school now and you have to wear a uniform. That's programming you to wear a uniform all the way through. When you start seeing the indoctrination levels from before you even leave your household, you know, as a toddler, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. You know, I know my ancestry goes right back before the Atlantis times. You know, Atlantis to me was the Isles of Atlantia, which meant there was just a time frame when we all spoke with telepathy and we sang with our voices for healing. You know, we had the water abilities, the creatures, all the different elementals, because we were with all the, you know, the different frequencies that I've had encounters with beings, and I've sent you a couple of pictures of one particular of one of my regular contacts who's a Zeta, who's shown me that there's portals up there where they fiery, you know, they're shooting back and forth and it doesn't come into our fray. When I say fray, I'm talking about our atmosphere. But, you know, there's dump stations from one star. I don't see these stars as stars. I've seen them communicating with each other. Or long enough watching them, you'll see stuff come in through portals. You'll see it, but you've got to want to be out there and practice it. Just go out there and look up at the sky every night for a week, and you'll see stuff that you can't explain. And it's not just satellites going past. And there are thousands of satellites out there. You get to
Yeah.
differentiate between what's actually going on and what's ours and what's theirs. So there's so many
That
levels to this, Don.
that's really fascinating, and I swear I'm going to wrap it up after this. What you just explained with the star travel is in my branch of the SSP, because there's no other name for it. That's actually what Maya is an instructor of, is that star to star travel.
Yeah.
And you just explained it perfectly. Like the first time she ever took me to the SSP dispatch center school, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
she's like, "Can you see me there?" And I'm like, "Yes." You're explaining how we get from place to place so quickly without, and what
Yeah.
you just explained is exactly what she teaches.
Okay.
In one of my hypnosis sessions, I found out that I was a Stargate keeper,
Yeah.
and um, I'm here to do grid work. I'm here to work
Yep.
with the Earth chakras, 13 keys. I'm here to help awaken people, and I'm writing a series. I'm hoping to find a movie producer to help me with this, because I need to I have to. I just feel like it has to be visualized, you know.
Yeah.
But we've been back to Atlantis quite a few times. We've been back to Atlantis before the fall of Atlantis. We went back before when Atlantis was falling. We went back during the battles. We went back so many different times to the 4D. We've also went to the future in Atlantis, to the sixth dimension, which is really interesting. But Atlantis is really interesting because they said that it was the headquarters for the Galactic Federation.
Yeah.
And when the infringement came in, when the reptilians came in, that's when they were like, okay, this has got to get shut down. They're taking over, because they take over you so easy.
Yeah.
And so I guess back in Atlantis, when I take a lot of people back to Atlantis, not everybody, but there's a handful of people that are mermaids and they're hybrids. That's really cool. I'm a mermaid in Atlantis, so
I'm an ancient one. I've had ancient one. I'm just trying to see if I can see her. I don't think you can see her. Where is she?
sorry,
No,
Don.
you can't
I
see.
keep it
She's
going.
in the shadow right now. But one of my really big encounters was an ancient one, and the first thing she said to me was, "I'm not a mermaid, and I'm not a naga. I'm an ancient one, and I am on the in between. It's what you call water and ether, is my density." So
Oh,
I made a sculpting of her, and she was from Atlantis. Okay, and she showed me my side. Oh man, I would love to hook up with you sometime, Maya, and share that side of it, because there's like so many levels to this like vessel.
I'm sure we can
I love
find a reason
that.
back and do this again, because you've
Yeah.
been absolutely fascinating. And I didn't mean to steal Rob's hook there. Sorry, Rob. Um, he kind of owns fascinating. Uh, but did you want to give everybody a quick outro on your Hearthfire hangouts? I know I tried to catch one the other day. I kind of had a messed up situation here at home and didn't get to. But if you want to give everybody the rundown on that before we go, and where they can have conversations like this, because it's awesome. Go ahead.
Okay. Your guys Wednesday, because you got to remember I'm in New Zealand, so I'm like, they call us at the bottom of the world, but somehow we're a day ahead of you guys. So I would turn your map upside down. Okay, so
That's real time travel right there.
oh, absolutely, isn't it fantastic? Okay, so you can find me through Christine Hansen. And just remember, this is Facebook. This is not, real names and shit. So like Christine Hansen on Facebook, and I usually stick up a Hearthfire Hangout Zoom link the day before, and we do roundtable discussions on, you have a topic, you bring it up, you put it on the forum, and we all go around it. We all just share from our personal experiences and our encounters. Depending on the amount of people that come in, sometimes it can be one-on-ones, sometimes it can be like 5 minutes because there's 20 or 30 people in the room. So we just do roundtable from there. It's about growth factor. It's about, becoming aware of who you are, and nothing is static. All right. We're always evolving. If you allow yourself to evolve, I am a transmuter of energy. So any negative experiences that you've gone through, and I know I speak from experiences. So PTSD, CPTSD, different anxiety disorders, you might have ADHD, you might have Asperger's, different, whatever label they have put on you, they've put it on you because this is a characteristic of your communicational form. So, and they are aware of it, but they are trying to keep you in a stuck state. So we break the programming. I'm a deprogrammer. I break the programs. So spell castings, languages, the whole thing. There's no barriers when it comes to me. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
You and I need to talk after this show for both me and Spinja, because I got some shit.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Mate, if you knew what I'd gone through, it's like I say to people, you do not need to be a prisoner. Don't need to be locked behind bars to be a prisoner. You don't need to be enlisted in a military formation to be military. There are so many areas of programming that you've gone through, and they've used us. They've, mind to skull, voice to skull. There's so many levels of this programming that they have used to try to gather as much information as they possibly can. AI will not exist without us, right? So your input, your footprint is very important to the survival of the AI or the failure of AI, right? So that's another story, another day. Remember, I've worked in many different fields, from plant to different technologies, blood forms, cellular forms, frequency, off-world.
And I'm just going to give the four dummies for what I'm going to take away from this session is the more natural you can be and the more true to yourself, the thinner the veil that you're going to be able to communicate with the people you want to talk to, beings you want to talk to. I think that's a fair synopsis and takeaway from today for sure, because you've given some nuggets that I hope people caught. And, if they're interested in doing it the way I did it, because I kind of needed to be jump started, Maya is available at sosqht.com. Do you want to give them a quick rundown, Maya? I know she's driving.
Rundown? What would you like me to run down?
Your radio show, your YouTube, your website.
sosqht.com. Everything's there.
Yeah.
Everything.
And
if you want to be in an interview, if you want to be on the show, you can send a message through there, all that. If you want to be part of our crew, if you want to get healing, if you want to tap into your, spirit self, all that good stuff.
Yeah. And I'll attest, it's kind of messed up when you figure out that it's an actual angel, because I didn't even know who Gabriel was. All I knew about Gabriel was he was an annoying kid that I was in grade school with. I didn't know shit beyond that. Like, I said that name during a session and started talking as him, whatever, and I had to look it up. When I got up, I was like, oh.
Yes, his higher self is Archangel Gabriel. My higher self is Archangel Michael. Spin's higher self is someone named Mabel, who is actually the angel of textiles.
Yeah.
And that's why she's who she is, because she's been doing that for eons.
All right, everybody. I think that's where we'll cut it off for today. After this, there's going to be, I think I'm going to throw another one of Touchdown Tommy's songs on, because they are always a toe tapper. And there'll also be an ad for Rob's Typical Skeptic, which is the whole reason I'm here. So be sure to stay tuned for that after the show. And thank you guys for being here.
Cheers.
Thank you.
I can see the future stumbling my way. Wait, take me to the river, my soul away. I'm holding on. When I'm kicking and I'm screaming and I just can't kill the pain. Drink it and consume it till these moments slip away. They'll slip away. They'll slip away. Shake into motion. Won't you feel your soul's devotion? Take to the river, soul flow to the ocean. And I'm holding on, I've been holding on. Well, I'm kicking and I'm screaming till I just can't kill the pain. Drink it and consume it till these moments slip away. Well, they'll slip away. They'll slip away. I can see the future. Wait, I can see the future. Wait, I can see the future stumbling my way. Take into my lover, take my soul away. Well, I'm holding on and I'm holding on. Well, I'm kicking and I'm screaming. Well, I just can't kill the pain. Drink it and consume it till the moments slip away. Well, they slip away. They slip away.
When the lights are low and the curtains are drawn, you know there's only one thing she wants you to put on.